Let me just give you the lay of the land here. I'm Dan Malloy, the governor of the state of Connecticut. With me are our two United States senators, Blumenthal and Murphy, Congressman Himes, who represents this congressional district, the First Selectman Mike Tidrow of Fairfield is with us, and Adam Wood, representing the mayor's office here in Bridgeport, is also with us. We are also now joined by Earl Weener of the NTSB, as well as Mike Heller, who is the lead investigator for the NTSB as well. I will turn the program after I make some initial comments to Fred. Then we'll give each of the senators and congressmen a chance to say a few words. We'll then take questions. Obviously, this is an investigation underway. The NTSB member, Mr. Weener, just arrived a short time ago. We spent time up at the site. I had been up there last night, but we spent some time up today. It is our function to finish this work and get out of their way so that they can complete the investigation, and that's what we're going to do. I will give you some basic information that I'm sure you're interested in. We do have a number of patients still in the hospital, not a large number. St. Vincent's Hospital has 6 of the admitted still there as of about a half hour ago. One of those individuals is in critical condition. Bridgeport Hospital has 2 patients in the hospital. Both of those individuals are critical, which is another way of saying is the vast majority of the injuries were treated at the hospital emergency rooms last night, leading to fairly quick releases after tests and that sort of thing was done. The next question you're likely to want to have an answer to, and one which we cannot answer right now, now that we've seen the extent of the damage both to cars and to the track system and to the catenary system, is when will service be restored through this area. And right now we really cannot give you good information on that. Suffice it to say that we will set up a system to move people from Bridgeport to the next closest station that can handle that kind of traffic. Right now, it's between Bridgeport and South Norwalk, which is a major station as well. If it becomes possible to electrify further up the system and put more of the stations that are currently out of order back in order, we will do that. But what I would say honestly to folks who depend on the train system for commutation, particularly those who are north of Bridgeport, or I should say east of Bridgeport, you should begin making plans either for alternate travel or go to the DOT website on an ongoing basis. We'll keep you informed through that with respect to our ability to set up alternative systems to get you around this particular problem. I think this is going to be with us for a number of days. Again, what is important to us is that the investigation be completed on site, that we begin the work of removing the trains and restoring the track and catenary system, all of which is going to take some amount of time. For those of you who are new, we explained this last night. I'll do it one more time. This section of the system has 4 tracks. We are in the midst of a long-term ongoing project to replace an ancient catenary system. As a result of that replacement project, only 2 of the rail lines are available, and obviously both of those are down as a result of this accident. Right now I'm going to turn it over to Earl Weener, to be followed by Senator Blumenthal, to be followed by Senator Murphy, to be followed by Congressman Himes, and then at that point we will take your questions and you'll be allowed to direct them to the individuals you want. We're going to make this relatively quick and get these folks back to work, because until they complete their work we cannot remove the cars and begin the work of getting back to service. So Earl, I'm going to turn it over to you. I just should also mention that our DOT commissioner, my commissioner, is here and has been on site since last night as well. Jim Redeker is with us. Thank you. Earl, thank you.
Thank you, Governor Malloy, and thank you for coming here. My name's Earl Weener. I'm a member of the National Transportation Safety Board. Investigators from the NTSB arrived in Connecticut this morning about 9 a.m. to begin the investigation of the Metro North passenger train accident that occurred yesterday about 6:10 p.m. The NTSB is an independent federal agency charged with investigating all civil aviation accidents and significant accidents from rail, highway, pipeline, and marine. We also issue safety recommendations whose objective is to eliminate those accidents from happening again. Before I go any further, on behalf of the NTSB, I'd like to extend our condolences to the families and friends of the victims of this tragic accident. Here's the factual information that we have at this point in time. At 6:10 p.m. yesterday, an eastbound Metro North train derailed and was hit by a westbound train between the Bridgeport and Fairfield stations. The train's registered as a Metro North Railroad and is affiliated with the Metropolitan Transit Authority. Preliminary reports we have received from the emergency responders on the scene indicate that there were numerous injuries. Accurate information concerning those injuries can be obtained from the local authorities. The NTSB has put together a multidisciplinary team of NTSB personnel. The investigator in charge is Mike Hiller. Mr. Hiller is a senior investigator with over 25 years experience in this investigation. We have a variety of different focal areas. We'll be looking at the braking performance of the train, the condition of the wheels, the condition of the car. We'll be looking at the general condition of the track and the rail bed. We'll be looking at signaling information, downloading whatever data we can to ascertain whether or not the signals were operating properly. In terms of the train operation, we'll be looking at how the crew behaved and how the crew operated the train. Our survival factors focus will look at injuries from this accident, determine how they happened, and look at ways to prevent injuries like these from occurring again. In terms of human performance, we'll be looking for anything that would affect the operator's performance or behavior. Data recorders were on board the train as far as we were aware and will provide us data on speeds, braking parameters, throttle settings, and other parameters.
Can you repeat that, sir? What will it provide?
The initial download has already been made, and that data is being analyzed back in Washington. In addition to our investigators, we have specialists from our Office of Transportation Disaster Assistance on scene, and they'll be working closely with the local community to assist them in their work supporting the victims and their families involved in this accident. Throughout the next few days, our investigators will work on scene to thoroughly document the accident site. Again, our mission is to understand not just what happened, but why it happened, and determine ways of preventing it from happening again. We will not be determining the probable cause of the accident while we're here on scene, nor will we speculate on what may have caused the accident. We expect this on-scene phase of the investigation to last as long as 7 to 10 days, and that will include a number of days spent interviewing crew members, looking at the condition of cars, and so forth. For the latest information on media briefings, I encourage you to follow us on Twitter and on our website. You can find us at NTSB or ntsb.gov. One final comment, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the first responders. They've been working very hard, and we appreciate all that they have done. Thank you.
What data was it on the data recorder?
We'll get it in a minute. Yeah.
Let me begin by thanking the towns and cities of Bridgeport and Fairfield for their amazingly effective and heroic work. Their first responders and medical providers certainly were on the scene. Their performance was truly magnificent at a time of great challenge. And to the governor and to the NTSB, thank you for responding so quickly and effectively. We were on the phone this morning to the chairman of the NTSB. Senator Murphy and I spoke to her at some length this morning, and they are absolutely committed to finishing this investigation as quickly as possible at the scene so that these tracks can get back to business and people can get back to traveling the rails. And I am very heartened and encouraged by their total dedication to getting Connecticut back to business. Let me say about the scene, having walked it just now, the damage is absolutely staggering. Ribbons of the sides of cars are torn away like ribbons of cloth. Tons of metal tossed around like toy things. Insides of the cars are shattered. And I can say, I feel that we are fortunate that even more injuries were not the result of this very tragic and unfortunate accident. The informed speculation is now focusing on the tracks, but nobody knows right now, and no one should leap to conclusions about what the causes were. That's the reason that the NTSB is here. But one point seems fairly clear to me from even the briefest of surveys at this scene, and that is that the newly constructed cars, the higher standards of quality, seem to have made a difference, so that perhaps lives and injuries were avoided because these are better cars. Investment in infrastructure, investment in quality of transportation is probably one of the lessons that we will learn from this accident. Let me just say, finally, that my thoughts and prayers go to the families and individuals who were injured, and hope for their quick and safe recovery. They're getting the best medical attention in the world, and certainly anything we can do for their families, anything that we as federal officials can do to speed this investigation, make sure it's done efficiently, effectively, and Connecticut goes back to work, back to traveling, back to enjoying one of the best rail systems in the world, we will certainly do. Thank you.
Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much, Governor. Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Thank you to the NTSB for responding so quickly. Their full team was here this morning, but they had an investigator here last night as well. Over the last year, Connecticut has seen more than its share of disasters, natural, man-made, and mechanical. The one silver lining to that is that we've gotten pretty good at responding, and I just want to add my thanks to the Senator and the Governors, to the Bridgeport Police and Fire, as well as Fairfield, for the speed with which they responded and the rapid movement of the injured to the hospitals here. In addition, let me give my thanks to the two hospitals who saw an overwhelming number of people come through their doors last night, and though our thoughts are still with the handful of people who remain, we're glad that so many were able to go home. When you go down and get up close to this scene, it's frankly amazing that there weren't more serious injuries and that there weren't lives lost on scene. That's a pretty devastating scene down there, and I'll just add to Senator Blumenthal's remarks that you certainly appreciate what investment can get you in terms of lives saved. I agree that we want to get commuters moving on this line as quickly as possible, but people will have to be patient. We want to get this investigation right. Whether that takes one day or several days, we want to know what happened here. And second, as you can see by where this accident took place, it's not going to be easy to move these trains and reconstruct that track. We want to make sure the reconstruction is done right as well. And so I know we've got a great team at the Department of Transportation. The MTA will get these trains running again on time, but people need to have some patience because we need this investigation to get us the information in order to make recommendations moving forward, and we need to make sure the reconstruction happens on time. Again, Governor, thank you so much for being down here as quickly as you were. Thank you to the NTSB for the work that you have done and will do. And now I'll turn it over to Congressman Jim Himes.
Thank you, Senator, and I'm pleased to join in my fellow elected officials and, most importantly, offering my hopes and prayers for the people, the handful of people who are still wounded, some critically so, and feeling some gratification that this was not worse. As you heard from the two senators and from the governor, the scene down there is enormously violent, and we may look back on this and count ourselves very fortunate that there was not there were not more injuries. And I'd also like to add my congratulations and my thanks to the first responders of Fairfield and Bridgeport, and frankly regionally, who came and did such a good job in keeping people safe. The only other thing I'd like to add to the conversation today is that we began to learn yesterday evening, and know now and will know even more intensely in the coming days, that while this problem occurred on the Bridgeport-Fairfield border, this is truly a regional problem, and in fact a regional problem with national implications. And I know I speak because of that for the other 4 members of the Connecticut House when I say that we will be very focused on making sure that the recovery is rapid and that based on whatever emerges as the cause, we do all that we can to make sure that this does not happen again. Thank you.
With that, we're going to take a limited number of questions, and so we'll start there.
Can we speak with Earl? I'm just curious to know, 7 to 10 days is how long the investigation is expected to last. Does that mean that that's how long these tracks could be shut down for, 7 to 10 days?
The question is, 7 to 10 days, does that mean the track's shut down during that entire time? The answer is no, the tracks won't be shut down that entire time. What we will focus on initially is the perishable data, the perishable evidence that we can get, but we have to get on scene before the cars are moved, for example. So that will take hopefully a day and a half or so, something on that order. Then we will turn it back over to the railroad for them to basically refurbish the track.
2 quick questions, please. Susan Candiotti from CNN. Good morning. Can you give us an idea of roughly how large of an accident scene we're talking about? And I guess it's off in that direction. And have you been able to determine yet which train of the 2 derailed first? Thank you.
Well, the question is, how big is the accident, how large is the accident scene, and which cars derailed first? The preliminary information is that the eastbound train derailed first and then was struck by the westbound train. But again, it's early in the investigation. We'll need to spend some time determining exactly what happened, but probably more importantly is why it happened, so we can prevent it from happening again.
And I just can squeeze that in there before you get to how large the accident scene is. Can you give us the route when you say the eastbound train, for those of us not totally familiar with the area? Eastbound from what to what? The other one was going from where to where?
East is going to Boston, west is going to New York.
Or if you're a Connecticut resident, east is New Haven. East is bound to New Haven.
Thank you.
Is there any
All right, in terms of the accident scene size, broadly speaking, can you tell us how large the wreckage of an area covers?
Well, there are several cars that have been damaged, some extensively. Again, though the crashworthiness of the cars seemed to be surprisingly good.
But I mean, are we talking about a mile of wreckage or what?
No, we're talking about several cars involved, but not an entire train.
Did the system have positive train control, which I understand can slow a train down if the operator's not complying with signals?
The question is, did the system have positive train control? And the answer to that is the NTSB has been very interested in positive train control for several years. We will be looking at what effect positive train control may have had. We are not aware at the moment of whether or not it had positive train control.
What is that, please? We don't know what that means. Thank you.
Positive train control means that there's an automated process by which the system determines whether or not the track is occupied. So it's to avoid having 2 trains on the same track.
Could you explain? Started in your investigation, but have you been able to rule out anything in terms of bringing comfort to people? Is there any signs of foul play?
It's too early to rule out anything. We just got on scene. That, of course, will be something we look at immediately.
The ribbons of metal, you described it as, or somebody described it as shredded clothing. Was that from the collision, or was that from something else?
Well, the ribbons of metal are really the tracks. The tracks are very much torn up in the process of the train derailing, but then once it's derailed, it's pushing train trackage around.
Thank you.
Yeah, right here.
Thank
Right
you,
here.
Governor. Could you elaborate on the safety features in the newly constructed train cars that may have prevented further injuries?
These are new cars designed to the latest standards. To the best of our knowledge, it's the first time that a car like this has been involved in this kind of incident, and by all appearances, they responded well. One of the things you look at, for instance, are did seats become removed and that sort of stuff. So it's going to take some more investigation. That's why they're here. Let me get back to this question. It's about 200 yards. So what happened is a train derailed and is literally plowing through tons of gravel as well as tearing up metal. So it slows the point of impact because it has to get through all of that material. But we're going to wrap this up relatively quickly because I want them to get to work because I want to clear these tracks.
Can you figure out how many cars were on each train?
train? And
All right, what's that?
Can you speak to how many cars were on each train and how many actually?
Where's our guy? Do you have that number?
We'll take one more question after this.
Let me just say that it was a normal size commutation train for that hour. It was not unusually large. It was not unusually small. It was, this back over actually to this woman's question, just so you understand. At this hour, these tracks are being covered about every 5 minutes. So that might put some perspective into what you're trying to get at, and obviously they need to.
Is it likely? Last question.
There's extensive construction going on in the area. There's extensive construction going on in the area. Is there any evidence to suggest, or has it been ruled out at all, that perhaps debris from one of these construction sites might have, and is that even possible, cross the track and cause an accident as devastating as this?
They can't rule anything out. Having said that, the construction work that was ongoing is largely catenary work. As I alluded to at the beginning of our statement, we have a very old catenary system. That's why 2 tracks are down, not being used. Most of the work is occurring above that. These trains during a peak commutation period, and that was a peak commutation period, are being traversed quite often. So anything could happen, but I think rather than speculate and having visited the scene and understanding what's going on, let's let them do their work and we'll get it. I'm very anxious that they complete their work as rapidly as they can. Our state DOT has already ordered the equipment necessary to remove the cars. They're going to have to be picked up, put on flatbeds, moved to another location where some further investigation will take place. I want to thank you. We'll have people either on the national side, they'll keep you informed. On the state side, we'll keep you informed. Want to share information as becomes available. Want to get them back to work. Thank you very much.